Sometimes movies based on books hit the mark, other times they don't quite make it. And on rare occasions, the adaptation is considered so off that it's an insult to fans of the book. Here are 5 movies hated by fans of the book. Number 1, The Giver. The Giver is a young adult dystopian novel about a seemingly perfect society where everybody obeys the rules without question and experiences a sterile world free of worry. The elders of the community decides who people marry and how many kids they have, and nobody seems to mind this arrangement since it brings stability to their society. The drugs they administer to everyone helps a lot too. The hero of our story is Jonas, a 12-year-old who has been chosen to be a receiver of memories. In this world, a receiver is a person who acts as a memory bank for the community's history, including all of the bad elements, which are kept away from the other members of society. Since the receiver is the only person with the bad elements of their history, everyone else is protected and gets to live in a life of ignorant bliss. And when a receiver gets to a certain elderly age, they then pass off the memories to a new young person, and so on. The book became a contemporary classic when it was released in 1993 and has even become part of middle school curriculum in districts across the United States and Canada. So, when it was finally turned into a movie in 2014, adult readers who remembered it from middle school had something nostalgic to look forward to. The movie was a flop at the box office, and fans of the book hated it. The fans were angered by some of the departures of the original work. The most egregious was to make the main character of Jonas older. He's 12 in the book, but in the movie he's a teenager. He's also played by a 25-year-old actor, so that doesn't help either. The decision was universally hated by fans of the book who read it in middle school and remember him being closer to their age. It would sort of be like making Jean Louise Finch a teenage girl and Harry Potter a college grad. Yes, those would definitely ruin the movie experience for many of the fans of the book. The movie also employs an artistic tool where it's shot in black and white, and then color appears gradually as the characters come to see the truth of their world. If this sounds familiar, the movie Pleasantville employed a similar technique back in 1998. It's worth noting that Pleasantville had its share of critics. Many felt as though the motif of a world turning from black and white to color was too heavy-handed, and that it crossed the boundary from allegorical to the dreaded preachy. If you read The Giver and connected with the way the story arc delivered the concept of sameness in a coherent narrative format, then it's understandable that you may be turned off when hit with this sledgehammer metaphor lifted from Pleasantville. Also, The Giver is widely considered the first young adult dystopian novel, and because other books and movies built upon the ideas that The Giver introduced us to, when the movie finally did come out, the genre had suffered some fatigue, and it showed at the box office. Derivative works in the genre, such as Hunger Games, Divergent, and Maze Runner, had already beat them to the punch, making the movie seem like just another YA dystopia to those who hadn't read the book. Number 2, Starship Troopers. You may remember Starship Troopers as a movie about space marines who shoot up a lot of CGI insects. So how on earth did the book become a classic and required reading for the Marine Corps? Well, it's because the movie diverged greatly from the themes of the book. The book is about a recruit moving through military training and into NCO school. There are only 2 action sequences in the book where they battle the aliens, which resemble giant bugs. One in the beginning and one in the end. That's it. Everything in between is the main character's experience in the academy. The recruits are introduced to themes about citizenship, duty, the concept of punishment and violence, and the proportionality of destruction. These themes are what drew the readers in, not the actual action sequences. When Paul Verhoeven directed the movie, he said he couldn't finish the book. He put it down after 2 chapters and told the screenwriter to fill him in on the rest. As he recounts, it really is quite a bad book. I asked Ed Neumeyer to tell me the story because I just couldn't read the thing. It's a very right-wing book. So instead of a loyal adaptation, Verhoeven made a movie that satirizes militarism and discarded most of the elements that fans of the book praised it for, and gave us a giant shooting gallery of CGI bugs. Of course, this would anger followers of the book to no end. If you read some of the Amazon reviews, there are people who said this book changed their lives when they read it while serving in the military. Well, the book didn't change my life. I did enjoy the debates and discussions between the teacher and students in the history and moral philosophy class. I can understand why some reacted so strongly to this book, especially those who served. It's worth noting that the movie did develop a cult following and actually spawned quite a few sequels. Fans of the movie franchise actually picked up the book and are now the book's biggest critics, saying that the book lacks the action of the movies and focuses too much on militarism. So how's that for irony? Go figure. Number 3, World War Z. If you are wondering what the differences are between the book World War Z and the movie World War Z, it might be easier just to list the similarities, and here they are. Both works employ zombies, and both are called World War Z. That's pretty much it. Readers have suggested that they could simply change the title of the movie, and not one reader of the book would ever know it's supposed to be based on World War Z, making the film one of the most egregious offenders of adaptation departures to ever exist. The book is told from the point of view of a reporter giving a series of interviews which reflects on the zombie apocalypse the world has experienced. The interviews offer a wide range of geopolitical perspectives on how the human race reacted and endured. Readers have praised the book for its realistic view of what would really happen if zombies took over the world, how governments would react, the complacency of some, the denial of others, and the sheer incompetency that government can bring to the table. Let me know if you think this material might be relevant to current events. It also highlights the triumph of the human spirit and reflects on the long-lasting effects of such a global event, instead of just wrapping everything up with a quick happy ending. The movie tossed aside this format for an action-drenched story that doesn't resemble anything close to the book. The character Brad Pitt plays does not even appear anywhere in the book. He was completely added by the screenwriters. This angered fans greatly, but some have said the movie version is a pretty good zombie shoot-'em-up if you view the movie as a standalone work. Perhaps Hollywood thought the format of several stories wouldn't work as they needed one character for the audience to stay with throughout. Hollywood has made war movies from several points of view before, such as The Longest Day with John Wayne and The Thin Red Line with Adrian Brody. Both had a huge cast of characters and several storylines. Maybe the material of a zombie apocalypse wasn't deemed worthy of the multi-story format, which Hollywood reserves for more serious material. Number 4, The Bonfire of the Vanities. Bonfire is one of my favorite books, and while I'm not quite as angry as The Giver or World War Z fans, I understand their pain. Bonfire of the Vanities tells the story of wealthy bond trader Sherman McCoy, who has everything. A townhouse on Park Avenue, a job on Wall Street trading bonds in the hundreds of millions, and a mistress. One day, he commits the tiniest of mistakes by missing a highway exit which sets forth a series of events. He runs over a black youth in the Bronx with his Mercedes, causing a firestorm of controversy for all of New York City. The event casts the city into a whirlwind of racially charged and media-driven chaos. The book is a wonderful slice of the me-decade of the 80s, featuring all the decadence of Upper East Side elite parties, a savage media, politicians who will stop at nothing to get elected, zealous prosecutors trying to make a name for themselves, and a community leader obviously inspired by Al Sharpton. One strength of the book is that it dissects the motivations of the characters with a fine-tooth comb. The author, Tom Wolfe, takes his time in the beginning of the story to painstakingly detail the incredibly petty motivations of each of these scummy characters. The book is a tribute to all things vile that civilized humans are capable of. The big problem with the movie is that it approaches the material with slapstick comedy, and the confusion of the hit and run is handled at the level of an episode of Three's Company. Also, the casting in the film is a huge blunder. I love Tom Hanks, but he was just plain wrong to play Sherman McCoy. This was pre-Philadelphia Tom Hanks, when he was known more for his comedic roles, and that's what he brought to the character. Bruce Willis is also miscast as the sleazy reporter. Willis had just come off Die Hard and was trying to diversify his career beyond action. He can certainly play rugged, but not sleazy. In the book, the Reverend is shown to be a highly intelligent political strategist. In the movie, he's simply a blowhard filmed at odd angles with a fisheye lens. My favorite character in the book is Larry Kramer, the DA who catches the hit-and-run case, but he's only a minor subplot in the movie, with most of his story scrubbed to make way for the bigger stars. My only hope is that this movie will be remade properly, and the satire and the delve into human flaws will be taken with more seriousness. The material is still relevant today as it was in the 80s. Remember, kids, Bonfire of the Vanities was a warning, not an instruction manual. Now, if you notice a common theme forming, it's that fans of the book generally hate it when Hollywood treats the source material with contempt. Readers seem to be okay when Hollywood departs from the story and changes certain elements, but dumbing down the themes seems to be a cardinal sin among readers. A good example of a major departure, approved by fans of the book, is the Lord of the Rings movies. They are so much different from J.R.R. Tolkien's books, but the movies do nothing to disrespect or talk down to the source material, and all but the most sensitive fans of the book love the movies. Number 5, The Great Gatsby. Great Gatsby has had a few adaptations over the years. The two most famous are the 1974 Robert Redford version and the 2013 Baz Luhrmann project. Fans of the book hated the Baz Luhrmann version since it was so over the top and indulgent, but it is Baz Luhrmann. Some have said he shouldn't have used modern music in place of 1920s jazz, while others have said that he could have recorded remakes of 1920s classics sung by modern singers and stylized for more of today's audiences. Not me though, I might be alone here, but I really enjoyed the decadence of the Baz Luhrmann version. It goes to one of the themes of the book where the 1920s were full of decadence. I don't think any other novel has ever presented the Roaring Twenties with such zeal. I found the 1974 version to be pretty stuffy and boring, and I had to sit through it twice. Once because I rented the movie since I didn't read the book in English class, and then the second time because we actually watched the movie in class. Yes, I went to a high school where we watched the movies in English class because the teachers knew the students weren't going to finish the books. I just enjoyed the fun of the Baz Luhrmann version over the stuffiness of the Robert Redford version. A side note, I live in St. Paul, Minnesota, birthplace of F. Scott Fitzgerald, and we have a few old supper clubs in my area. Every so often you spot a Great Gatsby party where hipsters dress up like it's the 1920s in zoot suits and top hats, and the ladies dress like flappers. God bless hipsters for keeping the Roaring Twenties alive and well. If you're ever in St. Paul, check out W.A. Frost, the Commodore, or the Lexington. You'll get the full Scott and Zelda experience at any one of those. But back to our movie. I think I would view the Baz Luhrmann version as more of a derivative work rather than an attempt at a faithful adaptation. I mean, they did hire the director of Moulin Rouge to make a movie. What did you expect them to do with it? That would be like hiring John Waters to direct the next Star Wars movie and then acting surprised that it's not as good as Empire. And Leonardo DiCaprio is a much more engaging actor than Robert Redford. There, I said it. That's it for this week. What are your most hated adaptations? Leave them in the comments and maybe I can make a round 2 video. Don't forget to check out my own book, Grand Portage, about a man who drags a nuclear aircraft carrier across northern Minnesota. If it's ever turned into a movie, I just know Hollywood will butcher its message. It's available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle. Thanks for watching and never stop reading.